He passed away peacefully while surrounded by his loving family on February 13th, 2026. Jim's legacy as a school psychologist within the Greece Central School District spanned nearly 3 decades. While he officially joined the Apollo Middle School team in 1997 and transitioned to Athena High in 2012, his roots in our community reached back even further to his time as a practicum student at Lakeshore and English Village. Jim was a tireless advocate for all students, and he was deeply respected by his colleagues as a professional who truly held the well-being of others at the center of the world, or his world. Whether he was leading the biking club and the school newspaper at Apollo or serving on the PBIS building leader at Athena, Jim's dedication was constant as his smile is on his face. Our school community will be forever grateful for Jim's years of service and the lasting difference he made in so many lives. Would you all please keep Jim and his family and friends in your thoughts and prayers? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, can I get someone to move approval of the agenda to the floor? First by Mary Like, second by Todd Butler. All those who are voting for approval of the agenda? This is so weird. All right, that passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to 1.5, student leader comments. Olympia Middle School, welcome.
Okay. Good evening, Board, Cabinet. My name is Desiree Pernicelsi, and I am one of the proud middle school assistant principals here at Olympia. And it is my tremendous honor to let these 6 students give you just a glimpse into what has made Olympia great this school year so far. Take it away, Mia.
Live from the Spartans News Desk, my name is Mia Cecil, an 8th grader at Olympia, reporting off-site this evening to share the latest happenings, events, updates, and all-around goodness Olympia has to offer. For our first story, I'd like to turn it over to our evening reports, James Rivers, to talk about Olympia Middle School's annual spectacular celebration. James, can you walk us through that?
Thanks, Mia. My name is James Rivers, a 7th grader from the Spartan Daily. I was on location at Olympia to see firsthand the spectacular event, which can only be known as a massive spectacular success. The halls of Olympia Middle School were filled with more than just Chromebooks and lockers this past October, as the school transformed into a vibrant autumn festival for its annual spectacular celebration. The halls of Olympia The event saw a massive turnout, welcoming over 350 students and siblings and parents for an evening dedicated to community spirit and fun, organized by the school's student council in partnership with the community schools. The event has become a staple of the community, bringing families together for a safe and high-energy experience. A night of thrills and treats. From the moment the doors opened, the energy was electric. Attendees were treated to activities that catered to all ages. The evening offered a haunted house, face painting, selfies, and of course, trick-or-treating for all. No festive is complete without food, and the crowd was well fed thanks to a massive delivery of pizza, a gesture made possible through the school's ongoing community partnerships. It surely was a night to remember, filled with plenty of fun and sugar-reduced energy. Back to you, Mia.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. Wow, that certainly sounded like a great time. Back at Live from the Spartans News Desk, we have also learned Olympia has some incredible news to share from our very own auditorium regarding a group of students who are truly leading the way. Daniela from Academics will be reporting on this. Daniela?
Yes, Mia. My name is Daniela, and it's a pleasure to report on such a special night we had at Olympia in December. I am calling Excellence in the Hallway. In early December, the lights stayed on bright at Greece Olympia for a special reason. We gathered to celebrate the National Junior Honor Society, NJHS. In the ceremony, it was entirely student-led. It was not about just getting a certificate. It was about recognizing the hard work that happens when no one's watching. This year's ceremony was passing of the torch, a moment of recognizing our student body. We had 17 returning members. These veteran leaders were recognized for their continued dedication to our school, and 11 new inductees. A huge congratulations to the 11 students who officially joined the ranks this year. In the introduction, the ceremony focused on 5 pillars that every NJHS member strives to live by. These aren't just words, they are part of the full student experience here at Olympia. This celebration gave us a chance to pause and recognize the incredible talent we have walking in these hallways every single day. It's so easy to get caught up in homework and practice, but NJHS introduction reminded us that being a student at Olympia means more than just showing up. It means showing out and making a difference. To our 28 NJHS members, we are so proud of you. Keep setting the bar high for the Spartan Daily. I am Daniela Umumadarungu from the Academics Report. Have a great night and back to you, Mia.
Thank you, Daniela. What an incredible thing and so much to be proud of. Folks, I'm getting some breaking news here. It appears that the admin pilot at Olympia can be felt as a great improvement to the overall school culture. Maybe not for the kids. It is reported that admins are everywhere. Well, it is good to know we are in good hands and rolling desks. We can all rest easy tonight. Additionally, we have a split report on the fun we have seen taking shape at Olympia this year. First off, I have Layla Connor reporting on the fundraiser effort that took a bit of a messy turn. Layla, can you share what you learned about the Spartans and how to raise money?
Yes, Mia, it was quite a messy situation at Olympia. Good evening, board. I'm Layla Connor, a 6th grader at Olympia, and we have a sweet, or maybe sticky, story coming out of the Commons area. If you were ever wanted to see your school principal covered in whipped cream, your wish has come true. Students participated by dropping their donations into bins during lunch. Every penny counted as a vote. To see one of the principals take part in some whipped cream chaos in person, whichever principal had the most money donated took a pie to the face in front of the whole school on the morning announcement. It was a great all-around event for some simple fun and good cause around our Admiral Fun. Reports Sarah, who will share about the NYC dance group that spread both light and positivity to our school, a building-wide assembly, and some fun celebrations we had this month. Sarah?
Thank you, Leah. My name is Sarah, an 8th grader here at Olympia. It's my absolute pleasure to take a look back at the morning that shook the floors of the auditorium and inspired our students. We're talking about the Echo Dance Assembly, a high-voltage performance that brought way more than just cool moves to our school. This wasn't your average school assembly. Greece Olympia welcomed the Echo crew from New York City to our building, and they didn't just perform, they took over. The energy was electric, but the real magic was the messages they left behind. The Echo performers used their platform to talk about the things that matter most as we navigate middle school. They focused on 5 main pillars: anti-bullying, respect, responsibility, following your passion, and leading a healthy lifestyle. If that wasn't fun enough for you, I would be at fault if I didn't thank those 2 additional assistant principals. They really bring the celebration and fun. Just this month, we had both an attendance incentive for any student who has 90%, 95% attendance or better at the Avid Olympics for students who met their goals in both first and second quarter. During the Avid Olympics, students participated in competitive games in the gym during SEL to celebrate their academic success. If that doesn't dissect the full student experience Olympia has to offer, I just don't know what will. Thank you for the attendance team and the Avid team. Back to you, Mia.
Wow, Olympia truly is a special place. Our final story is from our culture reporter, Demiso, who will share how students and a local drum performer came together to celebrate Black History earlier this month. Demisa?
Thanks, Mia. I'm Demiso Howard, a culture reporter here on staff. On February 9th, the auditorium was filled to the brim with energy, music, and a celebration of culture during Olympia's Black History Month celebration. Our very own middle school jazz band and 7th and 8th grade chorus performed in front of our entire school for the first time in years, highlighting the talent and dedication of these students and their instructors. Additionally, Olympia was honored to welcome drummers from Building Family First who share their African culture through vibrant performances of song, dance, and educational storytelling. The performer focuses on teaching and guiding children while allowing freedom of expression using his movements, drumming, and music. And let me tell you, the crowd was wild and energy was pulsing through the auditorium that morning. By drumming and dancing together, we reminded ourselves that while our rhythms might be different, we all beat as one heart here at Olympia.
A huge thank you to everyone who made these things possible for Olympia. Finally, to Mr. Jones, thank you for being our principal. You have shown up, make us laugh, kept us in line, and running to class. You have left your mark on Olympia for years to come, and let's be honest, the halls will never feel the same without you and your now lighted megaphone. For Live, from the Spartans News Desk, I am Mia Cecil. Now, back to your regular scheduled board meeting. Good night, everyone.
Awesome work, Spartans, but you're not getting away just quick. We have to do a picture first. So if I could have you and all of you and the faculty come up here along with the board, we'll all, and the cabinet as well. Picture time.
Cabinet. See, Romeo and Gina get out of there.
You're in middle school.
I'll take all the credit I can.
That's all right. All right. All right, moving on to staffing, 2.01. Can I get somebody to bring that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Felzerano, second by Mr. Butler. Any comments, questions, concerns on staffing? No? With that in mind, can I get a vote in favor of what's brought in front of us? Yep. All right, that passes 7-0. Moving on to 2.02, the GTA MOA, additional FTE. Can I get a first? All right. I'll move. All right, Mr. Butler. Second by Mark. All right. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? No? All right, all those in favor? All right, that passes 7-0. Moving on to presentations, 4.01, tax cap update. Superintendent Smallene.
All right, the moment everybody's been looking forward to, our tax cap calculation update, provided by Mr. Kalili.
Our annual exciting tax cap, so I look forward to this every year. So good evening, everyone. So what we wanted to do this evening, as we have done in past years, is share with you the tax cap calculation for a couple of reasons. One, to give the board and the public a little bit better understanding of this concept of the tax cap that's been in place for about 15 years now and how that's calculated, as well as to share with you what we will be submitting to New York State by the end of the week, because this is the calculation the tax levy that results from this is due to the state by March 1st. So we take this opportunity to share that with the board and the public to let you know how we determine that levy. So the tax cap limits the total levy set by the school district. It is not the assessed value or the tax rate for the upcoming school year. It again sets the levy, not the assessments or the tax rate. The tax rate itself is calculated by taking the levy that is determined here and then dividing it by the taxable assessed values that we get from the town of Greece gives us the rate. But this is a totally separate calculation from the assessment, the rate, and in fact, even the budget. The budget is not even a portion of this calculation. And each school district is impacted by this calculation in a different way. Although the calculation is the same for everyone, different districts may have different pilots coming on or off. They could have different capital projects going on, which will all use the same calculation, but the resultant tax levy will be different. So some of the factors in the calculation, tax base growth factor, this is determined by the Department of Taxation and Finance. It represents all the new construction in the district. It does not include pilots, which are exempt from this. And I've been saying for a number of years, if there's one thing that could help us with this, if it would change, would be to include pilots in the tax base growth factor. We have a lot of independent living facilities and senior centers. Because most of those are on pilots, they are not considered part of our growth factor. And Greece probably has more than many other towns in the area. So for the current year, for 26-27, the growth factor is 1.0019. Last year, it was 1.0021. So it's about the same it's been in the past. If it was 1.0, it means you had no growth. So we had just slightly a little bit more growth than we had in the previous year. The next slide here just shows what those growth levels are. You can see in the early years, it was a very sporadic, our growth factor. In the middle years, it started to trend upward, and we're back to sporadic near the tail end of this chart, but it's a little less sporadic than in the past. But the red line represents the trend line, and it is trending down over the 15-year period. This is just a representation of the growth factors for Monroe County school districts. You can see that we are on the tail end of that at 1.0019. The red line represents the average tax base growth factor throughout the county at 1.0054. And you can see Gates-Shiloh has the highest growth, and Brighton, East Aroniquoit, and Wheatland have no growth. Another factor in the calculation is the pilot payments. Pilot are payments in lieu of taxes. These are completed and arranged through the Monroe County Economic Development. There are lease agreements where properties, agreements where properties are exempt from taxes, either based on a percentage schedule or a number of years or whatever arrangement is made. They stay on this schedule for a 10, 15, or 20-year period, and then after that agreement is settled or expires, that property goes back onto the tax rolls and gets fully taxed as any other property within the district. Pilots themselves, we have an existing pilot that has come back on. It had been on the books for a while, but Li-Cycle North American Hub. This is a lithium battery recycling operation. It's a monster plant. It's going to be about a $400 or $500 million building. With the previous owner, there were some financial troubles. We thought it was going to go bankrupt. Another organization, I believe out of Canada, purchased it and put everything back on track. So this pilot and building is back on construction and should be in play, and we're waiting for that agreement to be finalized and then sent to us. In terms of new pilots, we don't see any for next school year. And for future pilots, there is this one that is still on the radar for Penn Central Apartments. That's the one over on Island Cottage. that had a lot of newsworthy controversies over the soil and those things. That is still scheduled to go forward, and is our understanding that we'll have a pilot on it in a future year. Another factor in the calculation is the allowable growth factor, or CPI, Consumer Price Index. Currently, the law is, the rate that we use is the CPI or 2%, whichever is lower. At the current time, CPI for 2025 was 2.7%. It's over the 2%, so our calculation will be capped at 2% for 26, 27. And the next slide just shows you where we have been over the last 15 years. The blue bars are where we had to set the tax cap for the calculation. The red is what the actual CPI was for that corresponding year. So out of the 15 years, there were 9 years where the CPI was greater than 2%, but we were capped at 2%. And you can see some years here over to the right where the CPI was 4.7%. There's missing the one at the highest peak, it's 8%, 4.12%, 3%. In all those years, even though CPI is much higher, we're capped at 2%. Capital project exclusions, what this represents is our total debt service. What do we have to pay out for all our capital projects minus all the aid that we're going to receive in that year for those corresponding projects. Whatever that difference is gets added to the levy. And the same is true for the BOCES calculation. For our portion of this, we had stated back, I think, in 2018, that we would maintain that local exclusion, that local add at $2.7 million. Even though it varies, we've been managing it to $2.7 million. That is still true today, and we believe we're going to be able to continue that going forward. The BOCES piece has the same type of an idea. They give us those numbers, and we add them to our calculation. So at the current time for our debt service, our local capital projects, our expenses come to $17.4 million. You can see that transfer to pay off our debt, it's about 16.5. We're going to have to issue some temporary financing. That's the ban interest. It's going to cost us about $877,000 to do that. We've got a transfer to capital for $100,000, which represents a minor project that we may want to do that we could then get state aid for. And the revenues are beneath it. That shows how we will pay those. And the $2.7 million is the 2.7 that I was referencing. So when you take the total appropriations in the budget for $17.5 million, and you subtract out the $14.8 million in revenues, it leaves a gap of $2.7 million intentionally. That is our exclusion for the local share for Greece. Similarly, there's one for BOCES. You can see BOCES capital expenses 1.2. We will get back aid for about $920,000. That leaves us a capital exclusion of $331,000 for the BOCES portion of this. When you add that to the 2.7, which is the Greece share, we get to just over $3 million capital exclusion for 26-27 school year. And then finally, just taking a look at the calculation without going through a lot of detail, it starts off with last year's levy. We talked about the growth multiplied by the growth factor. The pilots for the previous year are added in. You can see the two exclusions from the prior year for 2704 and 273. We add in the allowable growth factor at the bottom of 2%. We subtract out the upcoming pilots that we just spoke about, leaves us a tax levy limit of about almost $128 million. However, to that number, you need to add the $2.7 million for our exclusion, the $332,000 for the BOCE exclusion, which then gives us a maximum tax levy of just shy of $131 million. That levy compared to the current year of 25-26 is up $2.9 million, or about 2.27%.
Any questions? Anybody?
Pretty straightforward.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, Romeo. Moving on to 4.02, bus replacement proposal. Superintendent Smalley.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Kaloli again for
Another.
the bus replacement proposal.
Another great and riveting presentation, so please be ready. So each year, the district puts together a bus replacement committee. Those members are usually made up of the garage staff, finance staff, transportation administration, drivers, attendants, mechanics, who kind of go through the bus fleet to determine which should be replaced in the upcoming year. They're charged with determining a recommendation for the number of vehicles and the type of vehicles in which to trade in an auction. And we have been shying away from the trade-ins because trade-ins have not been favorable for the district. We've been seeing a lot better results on auction. So for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been auctioning our buses rather than trading them in. The recommendation for 26-27 is to replace 35 of our older gas buses, or gas or diesel, gas buses, because we no longer have any diesel buses at this point, but to replace 35 of our older gas buses with new gas or diesel buses during the 26-27 school year in order to further prepare for the electric bus mandate should it continue in the course that it's going. We purchased, this 35 would be purchasing 10 extra buses compared to our normal cycle of 35. If we go back prior to 2024, we were on a cycle of 25 buses a year. Since 2024, we've been overbuying by 10 buses so that should the mandate not change, we have some flexibility in not having to purchase a bus because our fleet is newer. So we're sort of anticipating that there may be some obstacles, and it buys us some time to see if there will be any changes to the law. So if we had to go a year or two without buying any buses in the next few years, we would be fine because our fleet would be still pretty up to date because we have been buying 10 extra buses a year. And then we will take 35 buses and auction them off in order to kind of reduce our fleet down a little bit further. We're currently at 191, 192 buses, and we're looking to get to about 185 maybe for this year, then further coming down to about 180 the following year. We'll see how that goes. This is what the current recommendation pricing and purchase quantity and pricing looks like. Again, 35 buses. You can see the breakdown on the vehicle type, the unit cost, and then the overall costs. 35 buses this year will cost $5.9 million. Again, those are gas or diesel buses. And interestingly, when I look at the prices last year, compared for these same buses, compared last year in 25-26 compared to 24-25, the prices had increased 6 to 10%. This year, those prices have gone up an additional 4 to 11%. So these gas and electric buses, we're not sure why, but they're getting more expensive as we go. And again, if we move in, when we have to move into the electric bus field, those will be at least double the cost of these buses. In terms of payments, our debt service payments on these buses will begin the next school year. We'll get transportation aid over a 5-year period back from the state. We will be recommending the use of $2.7 million from our bus reserve to offset the local share. And then between the local share withdrawal out of the reserve, plus the state aid payments that we'll receive over the next 5 years, this will be a zero additional cost to the tax levy for our residents.
Any questions? Mr. Maloney?
If the 35 buses were all electric, did you have an estimate of how much that would cost?
About $500,000 a bus.
A bus?
Oh, probably 16, 17 million,
Oh, thank you.
maybe more, if I do the math right.
Any other questions? Mr. Brunigario?
I'm just curious, so we're using the auction process to recoup something from the old buses. Is there a market that continues without a similar sunsetting on buses that we can continue to sell these into?
We're not, that's a good question. We've talked about it. So currently and I'm just ballparking amounts, but on a trade, we might see 2,500 or 3,000. On an auction right now, we might see $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. However, as this mandate kicks in, there is the question of like, who's going to buy a used electric bus or a used gas or diesel bus when they're no longer, you can no longer buy them after July 1st of 2027 unless you have a waiver. So yeah, I think that secondary market is going to shrink unless something else changes. So what do we do with them? I am not sure yet. Is that kind of where you were going?
That's exactly the question. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Maloney?
Just for clarification, we did apply for a waiver, didn't we?
We will at the appropriate time.
At the appropriate
So the waiver
time?
process is currently rolling. It's changed a number of times in terms of clarifications, but when it's right for us, we will apply for the waiver, which will, without the waiver, I should clarify, if you're a district that does not apply for a waiver after July of 2027, and you go out and purchase a gas or diesel bus, you will not get state aid on that bus unless you have a waiver. We will apply for our waiver when appropriate to ensure that even though we will go out and purchase gas and diesel buses in those years, we will get the state aid because we have an approved waiver to do that. So
Thank
that'll
you.
be upcoming probably in the next couple of years.
Mr. Brunigario?
So the waivers, is there a process for those ending at some point? Do we have a limit on that as well?
Yes.
Or is it just a political decision?
At the current time, you can apply for a waiver for 27, 28, and 28, 29, and those will be going in over the next few months. It's based on a metric, so if you get that waiver approved, you can still buy gas or diesel buses for 27, 28, and 28, 29. At some point, there's only 2 waivers potential. If you want the second waiver, the metric for it gets much stricter because they want to see you've been making progress or attempts to make progress towards electrifying the fleet. So the state then, for the second waiver, in conjunction with NYSERDA, will determine if you've made enough effort over the last 2 years that you had the waiver to be approved for a second waiver. That would be for another 2-year period. After that, there are no more waivers. And currently, the mandate is your whole fleet has to be electrified by 2035. Which again, is another issue because if you get the 4-year waiver, it takes you to 2030, now you've only got 4 years to replace 200 buses by 2035. So there's it kind of cuts both ways. So we've been talking a lot about it and try to be strategic about how we're going to do the waiver process.
So if I can just,
Yes.
Your team is doing some sort of assessment, a break-even,
We will.
taking all of that into play and the longevity of the fleet in service.
Dave and I were just talking about it today, like where will we be? How old will our buses on average be? What will be our oldest bus in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years? And and then in conjunction and parallel with that, we'll really need to figure out, if nothing changes, how do we replace 190 buses in a 4-year period? That's 50 buses a year at 500,000 each. That's 25 million a year. And how do we prep, and what's that cost going to be to the tax levy? We wouldn't have that kind of money put away in a reserve to cover the local share like we can now, because the numbers are just so much greater. So there's a lot to think about, but we talk about it a lot.
Ms. Falzarano?
Just a quick question too, in addition to the buses, the infrastructure to be able to charge these buses, should we even be able to afford to buy them? Is there anything you think you've heard from the state, or do you think districts will get some help? Because that's definitely long-term planning in terms of creating charging stations, for example.
There's a lot of advocacy going on regarding different ways the state could better help districts do it, but it has not changed yet. So at the current time, there's still some bus vouchers out there you can get. There's some charging vouchers you can get. A lot of folks are waiting for the state to come up with a new pot of money to put towards that, but there's still a lot of unknowns. And then you've also got out here RG&E, and do we have enough power, and how do we get that power to be able to charge 200 buses even after the chargers and the buses are in place? Do we have enough power, which is another scenario that needs to be worked out.
Mr. Butler?
Yeah, I guess this is maybe, and I'll make a comment, and Romeo, you can feel free to add to it if you want to. I was going to mention the advocacy work. It's one of the top advocacy items for school districts around the state right now, trying to figure this situation out. And I cannot imagine a situation where something doesn't change. There are too many laws of nature that are at play here that make this nearly impossible to implement the way that it is. I say that in complete agreement to the need for us to prioritize solutions to the climate crisis that we're facing as a society, but I think we could spend a lot of time planning right now for things that are going to change, have to change between here and implementation, including the date of implementation. 2035 is like day after tomorrow.
Agreed. We were surprised when the governor's budget address did not mention anything about the electric bus initiative. There were no changes, so our next anticipation is that the legislative budget will include some changes to the mandate. If that does not happen, then we've got another period of time to have to wait, and we'll have to start thinking about another route.
Mr. Maloney?
Wouldn't a referendum have to go out to the voters?
For either infrastructure work or the purchase of buses, either one of those would have to have a
It
referendum.
would have to do.
They would have to be
And
voted, approved
currently,
by our
I think 7
residents.
districts have voted it down.
Correct. So for the
7
capital,
communities, I should say.
if we wish to begin the capital work, it would need a vote of our residents and a successful vote to start the work. And then once the work is completed and we're buying buses, we would need resident approval each time we buy a lot of the electric buses.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 6.01, anticipated bids. This is written information only. Moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get someone to motion the consent agenda? Budget transfers. Mr. Maloney, second. Mr. Butler, any questions, concerns, comments on the consent agenda? No? All those in favor? Welcome back, Mr. President.
I'm in
favor as well.
All right, that passes 8-0. All right, moving on to 8.01, grade configuration change for Odyssey. Can I get a motion to bring that here? Moved by Ms. Lake, second by Ms. Farmer. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, I'd just like to get some clarification, I think probably for the record. There was some confusion or misunderstanding of what the proposal is here. Mr. Smalling, Superintendent Smalling, is it accurate to say that this proposal is not a measure of a process to move our fifth grade classes from our elementary schools or relevant elementary schools to Odyssey? This is a much more limited thing in its nature.
Yes.
It's not a strategic move in that regard.
No, I appreciate you asking that, Mr. Bonagorio. No, what this resolution would allow is a small group of students, a specialized program of fifth grade students that would be able to attend that program specifically at Odyssey. So it's for a small group of students for a specialized program. By no means is that changing the grade config. Will we be moving fifth grade students into Odyssey? It's for a small specialized group.
Not in a general way.
Correct. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? With that, can I get a vote? All those in favor? All right, that passes 8-0. Thank you. All right, 8.02, student trip approval. Can I get a motion on that? Mr. Butler, second by Ms. Falzarano. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Mr. Bonagorio?
I'll just say go robotics.
Go robotics. There you go. Anyone else? No? All right. If there are no other questions, can we get a vote for all those in favor? All right, that passes 8-0. We did miss a particular action item, so I'm going to go back to Section 5, Business Action, 5.01, Tax Tertiary Settlements. Can I get someone to bring that to the table, please? Followed by, first by Mr. Bonagorio, second by Mr. Butler. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right, that passes 8-0. All right, so moving back, there's nothing in number 9. In number 10, this is 10.01, second read of policies. This is Board of Education action. Can I get a motion to bring that to the table, please? By Ms. Lake, second by Ms. Farmer. Comments, questions, concerns on the second read of policies? Ms. Farmer?
Yes, thank you, Jordan. So there's a few different ones. I'm looking at, let's start with 7110, 7110, the student attendance comprehensive attendance policy. I just have a couple questions regarding that. One being, how will the district balance class credit with attendance and passing exams other than lab hours for science? So the question is referring to if kids are missing so many days, will that affect their grade? And we know that oftentimes it can. But if they were to pass the final exam, would the attendance or lack of attendance impact them passing the course based on their passing the class, or passing the exam?
Sure. Attendance is not an official factor in calculating a passing grade for a class. It's more about the grades in the class and then the exam as well. So if students miss to the point where it's detrimental to them completing the work or completing the exam, there's methods for credit recovery, quarter recovery, but attendance isn't a factor specifically in calculating a grade for a passing class.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anyone else have any questions? Or-
about that particular one?
Yes, because I have a couple more.
When you're done, I have a question about that particular policy.
Okay. Ms. Farmer, continue.
Okay, thank you. So I was looking at the dates. It says the district will review every 3 years, and the board will review it every year. So I'm wondering about that dichotomy.
Can you just give a page for a citation, please?
Yes. Page 5 of 5.
Okay.
It says the assistant superintendent will, for reviewing the policy every 3 years. And then I got to find where it says the board will do it every year. Page 4 or 5, thank you, Todd.
So that language isn't struck in your copy, right? It says the board will review every year?
You said on the bottom of page 4? Yes, shall annually review. Board of Education shall annually review the building level student attendance records.
So that's in our practice of sharing our attendance data with you in the quarterly reports and then the final reports. That's
So
us
it has nothing to
sharing
do
that
with the
data
policy.
with you. It does not. Then the language in here is not that it would review the policy necessarily, right? That it would, you would review the attendance data.
Thank you. And then one other question, and I found this in a couple of the other policies for the dates. So it says on page 5 of 5 that this was revised March 19th, 2024. Then it was revised February 3rd, 2025. Was that a typo? Was it supposed to be 2026? But then the next review is 2028, and this is page 5 of 5.
Yeah, that's an error. We can clean that up to put it on a
Okay.
3-year cycle.
All right,
Yep, my apologies.
thank you.
Ms. Like?
Okay, I have a question about excused absences. Okay? This is the same policy,
Okay, thank you.
7110.
Thank you.
What page specifically?
That would be page 2,
Okay.
and it's excused absences. Attendance is critically important. In fact, across school districts in the country, 40% rank it one of the top 3 concerns. This particular study examined 3.3 million text messages on chronic absenteeism, looking at communications between parents and school districts. They talked about 3 high alert moments of high absenteeism. One is pre-K, and they said that was early childhood disease, sicknesses, and parents don't often see that as serious education. The second highest was 6th grade. And that was, they call it a tipping point, because it was 3.3% higher than the absenteeism at 5th grade, which is higher than any other jump per grade. So it is an important issue. And in the data we've been looking at with code of conduct and the implications that has on other students, I would like to see that somewhere. If a child is not coming to school because they don't feel safe, either in the school or in a particular class or a situation with one or more students, that would be open an investigation. Instructional materials would be made available for that child at home, and that until there's a resolution, that those would be excused absences, not unexcused. And I would hope that teachers would be more attuned to looking at why a child might be out of school, especially if there are other things going on. So I would like that policy viewed again and that consideration.
Ms. Like, are you asking to do some sort of an amendment to the policy?
Yes,
Would you like to table this?
yes. You mean to write something myself and then present it again? Or to have it go back to the policy board? What happens there? Go back. To have it go back?
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to understand whether, and I'm just trying to understand, is this a new piece that you want added to the policy?
I
Is
would
that-
like that something included under excused absences that dealt with,
Do you have that written out already?
I don't.
Okay. So then my assumption is you want to table it so that you can write it out and we can then bring it to the policy committee to review or add?
If that's the way to do it.
Yeah, Superintendent Smalley?
Just for my own clarification, what you're asking for is part of the excused absences is if a student reporting or a family member, a parent, a guardian, reporting that they're absent from that class due to them not feeling safe coming in.
Can I just clarify what we do in those cases currently? Because I think part of that is underneath the code of conduct, like you mentioned, through DASA investigations. So when students don't come to school, if that's having an educational impact on them, and so we're bound as a district to open a DASA investigation in order to mitigate and keep taking actions until that's resolved. And part of that investigation is to determine if it's founded or unfounded, because sometimes there could be an underlying anxiety issue that isn't necessarily related. So I think that would open up a slippery slope with the attendance policy, because we also do know that kids not coming to school, whether it's excused or unexcused, is impacting their education, just like you mentioned. So whether it's excused or unexcused, them missing is actually the impact. But I think marking it excused would have an impact on things that would be harder to tease out, and also tax the system in terms of what we're able to offer and what that line would be around tutoring and kids being expected to come back to school.
It might be, but I think those are conversations we should have. So
Yes,
that,
we do.
you know, and if we have a policy that forces us to look at those things, then it's something that can't be ignored. And
Yeah, we can't ignore it, just to be clear, because of DASA. We have to follow that legislation, and we do through the process of, whenever that's reported to us, we have to open an investigation. So maybe you and I could talk about what that looks like too. I'm happy to do that outside of whatever's decided tonight.
So what I propose is that we table this particular policy so that we can review what you proposed. And then we'd have to fetch it, or fed it through legal in order to make sure that the language is compliant with, New York State standards and whatnot. And then if everything jives, bring it back here and vote on it.
Okay.
Okay? Is that, do we have to motion it as well?
There would have to be a motion.
Okay.
Table in a second.
Motion to table.
I'll make that.
Ms. Lake, seconded by Ms. Farmer. It's an up or down vote. There's no discussion on tabling the amendment. So all those in favor of tabling? Todd, so 2, 3? No? Mr. Maloney, no? That's a nay.
Who's a yes, who's no?
Who's a yes?
Raise your hand.
Just raise your hand high for me. Okay, so Ms. Falzerano's not. I thought you, sorry. So 2 yeses?
Point of information,
Sure, Mr. Bonagurio.
Is any policy? I believe a board member can request a review of any policy at any time with the agreement of the board. So can this policy be brought up for review at another time? That's not on cycle.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So is that a yes vote to table or
No.
no? All right, I'm going to be a no as well. So that does not, we are not tabling the amendment. And that's, what is that, 6-2? So it fails. Are there any other policies that we want to discuss, have questions, comments, concerns on?
Yes. Just give me
One second. Mr. Bonagorio, your question.
Yes, I have a question about policy 7350 regarding corporal punishment, which is, it looks like is being deleted in full. And my question is simple. The policy says that the district doesn't use corporal punishment, so I'm just curious as to why it's being deleted. Just
I can answer that. We actually just updated policy number 7619 previously, so it was redundant in terms of something that was already done. So it was kind of duplicate information, and so we're just deleting that duplicate policy. So
Thank you.
7619 is the other policy where this is covered.
Thank you. I guess I didn't catch that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Falzarano?
Policy 7221, in particular, accelerated programs 2 of 2, payment of examination fees remains responsibility of the student unless otherwise determined by the board or required by law. Did we at one time cover AP exams?
Yeah, we currently do as well.
Okay,
This language just leaves it a little more flexible in case we ever wanted to
Okay.
change that. It's whatever the board decides.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So I'd like to make a motion that we move all the policies for adoption, except for 7110. We pull 7110 out for a separate vote. Okay.
Second. All those in favor of moving them all at once with the exception of 7110? All right, that passes 8-0. Thank you, everybody, on that one. All right, we're now moving on to,
Don't you got to vote on 7110 now?
oh, shoot, you're right. My brain's ahead of me.
You're good.
All right, so can I get a motion to vote on 7110? Mr. McCabe, followed by Mr. Butler. Do we have comments, questions, concerns on it? Okay. Any questions, concerns, comments? Other than? No? All right. All those in favor? All right, that passes 7-1. Moving on to Section 11, Board of Education Information and Board Committee Reports. All right, Communications Committee Report, Mr. Butler.
Yes. So the Communications Committee did meet since our last board meeting, and we have a great committee of lots of folks representing a lot of different perspectives, and we had a great interactive exercise where we started off by inventorying all of the communications tools that the district currently uses, and I promise you, however long you think the list is, it's at least twice as long as that. And we talked about the challenges associated with communicating with the community, with our families, and with our staff. We talked about the things that we like about the different communications tools and channels, as well as the things that we wish were different. And this was in preparation for a discussion around a new app that would be utilized for communication, and we talked about the different app options that are out there, and identified a preferred that we want to move forward with a pilot at one elementary school and one secondary school that have not yet been identified, but they would be, we'd move forward with that, and then the idea would be that the new app, pending successful completion of the pilot, would be selected and implemented for the 27, 28 school year. Is that right, Laurel? Did I say that right? Or is it 26, 27? 26, 27. Thank you. 26, 27 school year.
Okay. All right, moving on to Grading Policy Committee report. President McCabe.
Yes, the committee met a couple weeks ago. We're still looking at some different policies around the 55 rule and standards-based grading. So we're going to continue to meet and hopefully have something, a partial report back to the Board of Education in the form of a policy, hopefully by the end of this school year.
Thank you, President McCabe. All right, the MCSBA Information Committee report. Board Member Farmer.
No report.
Okay. The MCSBA Legislative Committee report.
I think I was in attendance at that committee. Am I allowed to speak on this one?
Sure.
Yep.
Ms. Falzarano.
Yep, thank you. The Monroe County School Board Association Information Exchange met on February 11th, and the topic was community schools. And so we are very much aware about community schools in our own district, and based on the recent presentation we had, what I wanted to share was that regionally, in 2023, there were only 2 districts, Greece and the Rochester City School District, that had community schools, and there are currently 10 districts, with the notion that a community school is transformational and not transactional. We had a presentation by Dr. Fontegrossi from BOCES, and also from Carly Jelmsa from East Irondequoit. And they talked about the partnerships that are really necessary for the success of a school, a community school model. And that what was new to me too was that, we think of it in Greece and we have this district level, but there are layers of community schools, in that we have it at the Greece level, district level, and then we also have it at the county level, and then regionally, and then state and national. So this is reflected all across the country, and currently there are 5,589 community schools throughout our country, 47 states. And what Mr. Fontegrossi was talking about, or Dr. Fontegrossi was talking about, were the Monroe County Coalition for Community Schools, which really helps align the services and get providers in the community to support us in our schools, who have districts that have community schools. And almost all states that participate have a coalition. So we're part of a much larger movement. Sometimes it feels really granular, but it was important for me to see that too, and that we're part of that, but really pretty much pioneers in that. So that was the report.
Thank you, Ms. Falzarano. Ms. Like, Legislative Committee report.
Okay, well, this was the big breakfast on February 7th. 3 board members, Mrs. Fantagrosa, Mr. Bonagario, and I were there.
I was there too.
You were there? I didn't see you. And Deputy Superintendent, and then Assistant Superintendents, Romeo and Gina and Kelly. And I think the themes that we heard, people were very concerned about the 1% foundation aid, expecting much more, and being blindsided by that. And it seems that it really hit the western suburbs very hard. Romeo just shared today that 75% of the districts in New York State have been hit with that 1%. And I said, I'd love to see the demographics of the 25% that didn't get it, because that would be interesting. Space allocation, and Kelly spoke very eloquently of that. And the need that we have, the desperate need we have, and that the formula that the state uses really is unfair based on the growing number of special education needs that we have. Greece seemed to be in probably worse shape than any that we heard about. And then, of course, the electric buses were the hot topic. And people were just amazed that the governor is digging in when every single thing we learn about electric buses is in the bad list. And to the tune that somebody had an electric bus and it didn't even make it through the first route that they had to deliver kids. And Brockport ordered one a year and a half ago and hasn't gotten it, and yet we're supposed to all be on it in a short period of time. And Spencerport just voted down their bus issue, and somebody summarized it as, you say we must, and they say we won't. So I think a lot of school boards are in that position. So it was a good breakfast.
Could I add something to that?
Yeah, Ms. Farmer.
So I was sitting at a different table than you, which is probably why you didn't see me, but I was at Senator Gillibrand's representative, and one thing that they talked about specifically in terms of advocacy is the IDEA Act, and it looks as if that might be having some concerns around that, so IDEA is something that we need to spend some time focusing on.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Optimization Assessment Process Committee report, that's me. There's no report, I wasn't there. We have nothing in comments. All right, Mr. Maloney, you're up.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do I have a second? Mr. Butler, all those in favor? All right, that passes 8-0. Thank you, everybody. Good night.